This is my story of living with type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in October 2002, but before, in July 2002, I was on a family holiday in Wales. I was just watching my parents playing table tennis, and while I was watching them, I had this thought: there was nothing wrong with me. What do I mean by that? There was nothing wrong with me, I wasn't ill, I was absolutely fine. But maybe, looking back, that's when things started to change inside my body. September came around, I went back to school, feeling fine, just a little tired, but that was to be expected. I started noticing things in October. I started drinking tons and tons of water, and consequently going to the toilet. I got in trouble with my teachers because I kept falling asleep. But back then, no one knew diabetes was even round the corner. I remember one particular DT lesson. I was totally exhausted. I asked my teacher whether I could leave half an hour early because I said I had a doctor's appointment. But the truth was, I just really wanted to get a seat on the bus because I was absolutely shattered. But unknown to me, my parents had already booked a doctor's appointment for later that day. So me and my dad went down to the doctor's. The doctor took my sugars, took my bloods, and asked me to wait outside. My dad was advised to take me to the hospital. As I arrived at the hospital, I met lots of doctors. They took me to a side room where they put me on a bed, and there was a chair and lots of the doctor's equipment. My mum stayed with me in hospital. Shortly after, another doctor came and took me to another room to check my weight and took even more bloods. And shortly afterwards, a doctor came and confirmed that and diagnosed me with type 1 diabetes. Shortly after that, they gave me a line into my arm and they gave me insulin. And things back then were just a bit confusing because I was only 12, 13, and before I didn't even know the word type 1 diabetes, and now trying to get my head around a new way of life. So it got to about 1 o'clock in the morning, and was just taken to the children's ward. The noise was absolutely unbelievable. Screaming, crying, and to make matters worse, trying to get to sleep was impossible. But before I even did that, I was met by a fairly attractive nurse who told me the routine and said, "Oh, I'll be waking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning to test your sugars." And when she tested my sugars, I went, "Ah, shit!" because I wasn't expecting it. But back then, I didn't even know checking my sugars was going to be on the daily occurrence. And that was the last time I even saw the fairly attractive nurse. So the next morning, I woke up to the sounds of screams and crying. The nurse had already spoken to my mum about I mustn't go for breakfast until the nurse had returned with the insulin and a blood glucose monitor to check my sugars. But it seemed like I waited for an age for them to come. But as soon as that happened, I was able to go and get some toast. Later that day, I met the diabetic doctor, Dr. Banerjee, who told me, "Adam, I'm very sorry you have type 1 diabetes, but I'm sure you don't want to be in hospital." And I said, "Too right I don't." And he said, "You can go home once you've learnt how to check your sugars and learnt how you can inject." And that day I learnt they gave me a metal syringe. It was, I don't know why they gave me a metal syringe, because even to this day I've not even used a syringe before. But maybe that was their test, to make sure how much do I really want to leave hospital. And when I was told that I could leave hospital, tears of joy came streaming from my mum and myself's face. I just could not wait to leave home. I could not wait to leave hospital. When I got home, I tested my blood glucose. I can't remember what they were, but all I wanted to do was play football. And as I was playing football, I started experiencing symptoms that I had never experienced before. I started to feel a bit lightheaded, a bit dizzy, and a bit sweaty. And I came to check my sugars, and they were 3.9. And that was one of my fears in hospital, that I would not be able to recognise the signs of low blood sugar. But in fact, I did. And that was less than an hour since I left hospital. The things that really worry and concern me today is people's perception of type 1 diabetes. Because I hear people say, "Oh, did you eat too much sugar when you were younger?" And little comments like that just really make me feel a little bit down. I sometimes feel, why me? Why me? I never wish this on my worst enemy, but I have to deal with it, and diabetes does not control me. I really don't like injecting in public, even though I inject through my trouser leg. I just don't like people watching and staring. One thing that gets me down quite a lot is not being able to try different ways of administering insulin. I just haven't been able to try it, and it really gets me down when I know some people who have tried it. Unfortunately for them, they found it difficult and went back to insulin injections. But the thing is, I haven't even tried it, and I've had diabetes longer than them. And it really does get me down when I can't try a pump or any other forms. But that doesn't get me down. It does sometimes, but I don't let that stop me from doing regular tasks, like going to school, going to college, going to work, whatever that may be. Diabetes is a part of me. It's like a puzzle. It's a piece of me, but it's not the complete picture. I like talking about type 1 diabetes, and that's why I created Living with Type 1 Diabetes, to raise awareness of type 1 diabetes and the signs of high and low blood sugar, joining people together and sharing experiences. But I do appreciate you taking the time to watching this DVD and just going through, and you may have gone through a similar experience. And I just encourage people to talk about being diagnosed with diabetes, because I know it can't be easy for anybody. And I'm going to leave you now with the Diabetes UK campaign awareness video for the awareness of type 1 diabetes.
I felt heartbroken.
Terrified.
Completely gutting.
Cross.
Devastated.
I'm one of thousands of children who has a thing called type 1 diabetes.
I didn't do anything to cause my type 1, and I didn't get it because I ate too much sugar.
It doesn't mean I'm different.
And I can still do everything that other kids do.
It just means my body isn't making something called insulin,
Which I need to keep me alive.
So I have to either take insulin injections
or attach myself to an insulin pump.
I have to prick my finger to check my blood glucose.
To make sure it's at the right level.
Because if it's too high or too low,
I get really poorly.
It's important to know the symptoms of type 1 diabetes because it can be so subtle and then all of a sudden it becomes critical.
We had misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis.
The doctor didn't know what it was, possibly glandular fever.
They sent me away with antibiotics 3 times.
If I'd have known the symptoms and I'd have known about all of their symptoms together, I would have taken her to the doctors much, much quicker.
A normal kid would be drinking a couple of drinks in the afternoon, he'd be drinking a couple an hour.
He was always thirsty. We'd get up in the night time to drink. We're drinking all the way through the day, through her lessons.
He wouldn't sip it, he'd be gulping that down, hand it straight back to me and say, I want some more.
I remember drinking gallons and gallons of water and nothing quenched my thirst.
it never satisfied me. No matter how much I drank, I wanted to drink more.
She went to the loo a lot in lessons, but we thought because she was drinking a lot, that's why she was going to the toilet.
We'd be up and down the stairs every 15 minutes, every half an hour. Every morning I was getting her up, she was soaked through right to the mattress.
What was surprising was that she had wet the bed again and she hadn't done that for months.
He does another week and then 10 minutes later he needs to go again. And I'm actually chastising him saying, look, you can hold it now, you can hold it. And of course he can't hold it.
They put me on the scales one day and I'd lost like 2 stone.
His shorts were falling to the ground. We had to tighten them up with a belt.
He'd only just turned 3 and he was sort of back into sort of 18 to 24-month clothes.
At the end, he was losing £1 a day.
He'd always had a bit of weight on him, a bit of meat on him. And all of a sudden he'd lost all this, and we put it down to growing.
She was exhausted all of the time.
She was sleeping lots, so about 20 hours a day.
And then even after she'd got up, having something to eat and wanting to go back to bed.
You can sleep or relax, but you've never actually rested.
My legs felt like lead, and as much as I slept, I'd wake up and I'd be so tired.
From what I can remember, I seemed to black out a period of time before I actually collapsed.
It's really important to know about the symptoms of type 1 diabetes because otherwise you could end up, well, dead.
This can very fast become a real serious illness.
He was really sick. They did say if we'd got on that plane that day, he would have died.
The hospital said Michael was about 24 hours away from being very critically ill.
Most children his age are normally in intensive care when they come in because not many people recognise the symptoms.
If your child is drinking a lot, if they're going to the toilet a lot, if they're really, really tired and lethargic, it can be type 1 diabetes.
If you have any doubts at all, don't think that you're wasting GP's time, go and get them tested.
Just ask for a blood test and then you will know.
Be determined to get to the bottom of your concerns.
Get them to the doctor, get them tested. It's a very simple test. If you don't, it could be very dangerous for them.